Hey there, everyone, and welcome back. Today, I want to share a few insights about the full moon in Sagittarius, which is happening on the weekend of June 3rd and 4th. It'll be Saturday, June 3rd, if you're in Canada and the US. If you're in other parts of the world like Australia, the UK, Europe, that full moon will come through most strongly on June the 4th. But either way, it's going to feel like it's Saturday night, the first weekend in June, full moon in Sagittarius. It is a fire full moon, and the element of fire is going to be so important to understanding this full moon in Sagittarius, as well as the 2 weeks following the full moon. Just before I get into all of those juicy details, I want to make sure you know about my monthly astrology membership. It's where I share exclusive content and all kinds of tips and insights to help you time your life with astrology. If you'd like to find out more or join us inside the membership, I'll put the link for that below. So the full moon in June, it's a very bright, vibrant, active full moon in Sagittarius. I'm going to put the chart of this full moon up on the screen so you can see what it looks like. It is so bold, so big. It's so full of adventure. You know, this full moon in Sagittarius is very much about movement. So here you see the full moon. It is at 13 degrees in the zodiac sign of Sagittarius. So it's in a fire sign. There's going to be some drama. There's going to be a lot of activity. There's going to be a lot of movement. Sagittarius is the sign, it's the mutable fire sign. Think about wild horses roaming or a fire that is just like uncontrollable. That energy of motivation or enthusiasm, of having a vision that you can't stop yourself going after. That's the kind of energy in this full moon in Sagittarius. The full moon, well, I should say the moon becomes full after making a trine aspect to the planet Mars. And that enhances the courage and the boldness, but also the fiery nature of this full moon. You know, Mars is the warrior planet. He's not afraid to do battle or to ask for what he wants. Mars's involvement with this full moon adds a very assertive, independent quality. It certainly enhances the quick moving qualities of this full moon. So the full moon will be in the sign of Sagittarius. So you want to think about the topics of the Sagittarius house or part of your birth chart as being lit up. You're getting an illumination or you're receiving insight about the Sagittarius part of your birth chart. And Mars is kind of really powering you up. So you could be very motivated. You could be taking action. You could be very outspoken. But there might also be some simmering frustrations that come to the surface under this full moon as well. So any full moon is going to bring things out in the open, and a full moon in a fire sign, it can bring the desire for action and activity, but it can also bring some of our frustrations, you know, whether it's anger or irritation, or whether it's like, I just want to push things. I want to make things move. This full moon in Sagittarius, it really does not want to sit still. So there's an adventurous quality. There's a willingness to take risks quality that comes through with this full moon as well. So the full moon's in Sagittarius, but it is ruled by the planet Jupiter. And so Jupiter's placement in this full moon is also something, or full moon chart, to look at. Jupiter is in the sign of Taurus, and that creates a contrasting energy. You know, there's a lot of fire, a lot of energy, a lot of outgoing, expressive energy with the full moon in Sag, but Jupiter in Taurus brings in the earth element, and that's going to bring in the desire for consistency or stability. The desire to be anchored is kind of, we're going to have to negotiate within ourselves, within our lives, with the people around us. How do we have the adventure and the movement and the growth that the full moon in Sagittarius is sort of pointing us towards, while still maintaining a foothold on stability or security or consistency, which is what Jupiter in Taurus is really looking for. So there is a little bit of a contrast between earth and fire. Earth is obviously more stable. It's slower moving, tends to have a more methodical or measured approach. Like Jupiter in Taurus is still working on its plan for the next 12 months. We know that Jupiter has just entered Taurus mid-May 2023, and Jupiter will be in Taurus until late May of 2024. So Jupiter in Taurus is still kind of clarifying the goals and objectives that it wants to work on and improve over the next 12 months. Whereas that full moon in Sagittarius is quick, it's impulsive, it's booking the tickets, grabbing the passport, saying yes to the things, signing up for the workshop, learning, training, travel, kind of global connections are all really highlighted with this full moon in Sagittarius. But the earth and fire is the contrast here. Some of you are, let me know this in the comments. Some of you are really going to relate to the fire elements of this full moon, the moon being in Sag, the aspect from Mars. You're going to feel high energy, high activity. You're going to maybe want to, test your physical limits or, go after the dreams that you have much more enthusiastically. Whereas some of you are going to relate more to the Jupiter in Taurus of like, I do want things, but I want to make a plan for how I'm going to get those things. So let me know in the comments whether you feel like you're more in the Jupiter and Taurus, slower, methodical planning, this sort of sustained or lasting growth of Jupiter and Taurus, or whether you're more into the quick, restless, immediate gratification, do something right away themes of that moon in Sagittarius. So there's some contrasting themes there that I think are worth mentioning. So hopefully you have a sense of them. But in general, this full moon in Sagittarius is quick moving. It's exciting. It also wants variety. That full moon in Sagittarius is very much about wanting to get into things, but move through things and get on to the next thing. Sagittarius is not a fixed sign. It doesn't stay with things over time. It wants to try a wide range of experiences. It wants to visit a wide range of places. It wants to learn about a broad cross-section of philosophies and spiritualities. That idea of how do I create meaning? How do I pursue a path of purpose? This full moon in Sagittarius is going to help draw you towards more meaningful experiences. So they're the themes in the full moon. But what I also want to make sure you have an understanding of is that the full moon sets the tone, not just for the day or the weekend that the full moon happens, in this case, June 3 or 4, but actually for the 2 weeks following. So from the full moon on June 3rd or June 4th, depending on where you are in the world, right through until the new moon in Gemini, which happens on June 18, these themes continue to unfold. So that restlessness, that the desire for adventure and trying new things, that willingness to take a risk. This full moon in Sagittarius, it's ruled by Jupiter. It's hopeful, it's optimistic, but it's got that egg on from Mars. It wants to do things and it wants to do things now. So that energy continues for 2 weeks. So it's not just the first weekend in June, but the 2 weeks following. But it is also balanced by the placement of Jupiter in Taurus in terms of how can I sink myself into something that is anchoring and grounding. And so I think the question that this full moon really raises is, how do I make time and energy and space for adventure and discovery and exploration, the full moon in Sag, while also continuing to build and accumulate and create stability and security, which is a big part of what Jupiter in Taurus is looking for. Jupiter in Taurus can highlight nature and being in the outdoors, in green spaces. It can highlight the needs of the physical body, that sense of embodiment. So Jupiter in Taurus is about a more measured, sustainable pace or lifestyle. So Jupiter in Taurus sometimes encourages us to slow down to enhance the quality of our life and our experiences. So there is another contradiction in this full moon between the quickness of the full moon in Sag, amplified by Mars, versus the kind of slower, more plodding, step-by-step approach of Jupiter in Taurus. And navigating those two different themes is a part of the work of this first couple of weeks of June. So for the full moon weekend, but also the 2 weeks following. Now, one other point to mention is that Just a couple of days after the full moon, Venus will move into Leo. So the full moon happens June 3rd or 4th, depending on where you are in the world. It's activating the element of fire, the sign of Sagittarius. We've got Mars in Leo. And then on June 5th, Venus moves into Leo. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons. One, we have another planet coming into a fire sign. So we're getting further emphasis on that fire approach, which is visionary. It's confident. It's about leadership. It is about taking charge. It's about making the first move, getting things going. Fire is very much about progress and about making sure there is ongoing development and movement. And we're getting a mix of the fixed fire, Mars in Leo, to be joined by Venus in Leo on June 5th. And of course, the mutable fire, the wide-ranging inspiration of Sag. So another way to think about this full moon, I'm just sidebarring myself here, the full moon in Sag, would be that inspiration can come from a wide variety of places. So be open to trying something new or different is a great message for this full moon in Sag. But back to Venus in Leo. So Venus comes into Leo on June 4th, and she's actually going to be in Leo for 4 months. Venus will be in Leo until early October. So most of June, all of July, all of August, all of September, and the early part of October. And that's, of course, because at the end of July, we will have a Venus retrograde. And I've shared some details about how to work with Venus retrograde in a previous video. So make sure you check that out if you haven't seen it yet. But how does this Venus in Leo kind of relate to this 2-week period starting June 3rd with the full moon in Sag? We're getting more fire, even more energy. There's a dynamic quality. And so the idea of being lit up, being warmed up, being inspired, what fire was always considered to be the most divine element. Because if you watch a flame, a candle burning, or if you're having a campfire or something like that, flames are always reaching towards the heavens. And the way that this was sort of internalized from a philosophical perspective is that the things represented by fire have us striving for the most divine expression of ourselves and striving for that kind of inspiration that feels like it's come to us from above. And so when we see a lot of fire placements, we get this sense of wanting to be inspired and wanting to be guided by whether it's a higher self, or a calling, or that purpose or passion of some kind. So passions are aroused and inflamed in this 2-week period starting June 3rd with the full moon in Sag, the aspect to Mars, and then by the contribution of Venus into Leo as well. So we get this very, fiery period, this fiery influence. And in fact, the element of fire is a huge signature through the whole month of June, which I'm talking about in the membership. So you can find out more about that now. But I really wanted to share this as a way of kind of perhaps motivating or encouraging or helping you tap into some inspiration so that you might take a risk, that you might set your standards a little bit higher from a place of self-respect or self-love, that you might back yourself into making a bold or courageous decision, or give yourself permission to really go and have that experience that is of interest to you and that is going to add some meaning into your life. And so this full moon in Sag has kind of all of these themes wrapped up into it. So, I think on the surface, it looks like, a pretty standard full moon, but it's got a lot of textured, nuanced layers to it. So let me know how you're experiencing this full moon in Sagittarius. The full moon's at 13 degrees Sag. Does that activate anything in your personal chart? And if so, what are you noticing? And definitely let me know, are you feeling more of the fire themes and that excitement or restlessness or desire to push and move? Or are you really tuning into the Jupiter in Taurus, which is the guide of this full moon in Sag, or technically known as the ruler, which is asking for some planning and preparation and a bit of research to get that more long-term vision locked in. So let me know in the comments below, team. Please do like and subscribe this video. And if you'd like more from me, I'd invite you to join my monthly astrology membership, which you can do so via the link below. Until then, everyone, have a great day. Enjoy this full moon, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.